Da 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 da! What's my good cheer? Welcome, everybody. By the skin of my teeth tonight. 1 minute to spare on the button. Now, I had the most luxurious shower. I've been at it all day. You wouldn't. I still haven't gotten to this wall yet, but everything else is starting to come together. I'm starting to come together. I'm feeling so much better, so much lighter in relieving myself of all these little knickknacks and little collections I have been putting together, for the past 5 years. Oh my goodness, I'm going to make a fortune at this yard sale that we're having on the 21st. It's going to be a lot of fun. These are kind of things that I miss out on quite a bit in my life, and those spontaneous when somebody says, "Oh, we're having a garage sale. Want to come and hang out with us? We're going camping. Do you want to come? I'm going to a concert. I'm going for dinner. So and so's birthday." And, lots of people, for the most part, most of us, right? We have obligations. For me, it was in that job that put the roof over my head. And, when I have that time to kind of immerse myself in my life in general, like my real day to day life, it's amazing. You guys, I have a couple adventures coming up, and I'm blown away that they're even being thought about, but they are being manifest as we speak all day today. I gave myself about 3 hours this afternoon. And what I did is I kind of hung out in the Ontario Provincial Park site, in the reservation site. And I was determined to get my parks down packed, get my dates down packed for the parks. And, I could have spent more time in maybe just a couple of parks. You guys know what I did last year. I did uh, 12 different parks in 13 days. It was kind of crazy. I spent a lot of time on the road, a lot of time overcoming little mishaps. And I love that. I was on holidays. I was up for the challenge. But you know what? I was up to sitting in my camp chair along the lakeside watching beautiful sunsets. And for the most part, you guys know, if you've been watching those videos, go check them. Go check out my main channel and take a look at some of those adventures that I do. Um, uh, my Ontario provincial park tours. I've been doing these for years, and they are so much fun. And I've been, filming them and sharing them. And so, if you think we're just into the heavy mindset and, that movement forward that we're all trying to make, there's a lot more to me than that. And if you're a little bit curious, you can go in there and you can check out what other kind of videos. I've got bushcraft videos, I got back road explore videos. Do I Well, I have my Ontario provincial parks. They're all camping videos, but I was thinking in Manitoba. And I'm not sure in all honesty. I think in the beginning when I was going out like into northern Manitoba and stuff, I did camp. Whether or not I filmed it, I should go back into some of those really old videos. And if you don't know, I've been here sharing my content, sharing my life, sharing that little bit of movement I've made, and sharing along a lot of that bumping into walls, bumping into others, right? Discovering, resolving, putting new. And if you guys have hung out with me, you guys know how many times that I have pivoted with this channel. But I am so grateful that I managed, right, to pivot, that I was able to bring content to my brand that made it possible that I could still be here. And in still being here, I feel like I have company in this movement that I'm making for myself. I didn't realize that I had really, right, messed things up for myself. And also, I'm not putting the blame totally on myself in that. But, in that result, and I'm not even sure if I failed to recognize. I'm quite aware of my faults. I'm quite aware of my coping mechanisms. I'm really aware of my limiting beliefs, right? And those handicaps. We all have handicaps. We are all messed up, whether it's physically, mentally, or emotionally. But for the most part, right, we keep that to ourselves because we can't afford to break down. We can't afford to go haywire because if we don't keep control of things, right, everything is going to fall apart. I get it, right? My entire life being that hypervigilant person that would just not feel safe, not feel comfortable, not feel like I have any sense of control or any say, or even if I mattered, unless I did have that control, right? But again, gratefully, along the way, you pick up a few lessons and you do a few I forgive and please forgive me and things kind of sort themselves out. It's not like everything is amazing. All my dreams are coming true. All those goals that I'm moving towards, that I actually see the light at the end of the tunnel, right? That I'm not in my own frustration sometimes in my day to day, right? In those again limiting beliefs that we all have. And it's in that willingness, right? And because I was willing to pivot, because I was willing to take a look at where I got things wrong and where I got things right, because I was willing to take a look at who I surrounded myself and who I was allowing to, right, influence me, and who I was people pleasing in getting my own needs met. And that's a truth too. That was a big thing that I didn't even recognize that I did until it was brought to my attention. And uh I'd like to say that I've recognized that, but only it takes just one trigger that you get a good look at actually where you're at in that little bit that you're trying to do for yourself or do for somebody else, right? But today I was doing for myself. I feel really good. Right before I had looked at the clock, 20 minutes. What can I do? Right? Take me 10 minutes for a shower. Oh, I'll take all the garbage down to the bin, right? So I got all my garbage together, hopped on the elevator, ran downstairs to the bin, dumped it all, ran upstairs. I was so glad that I had done that because when I woke up in the morning, right, I'm going to get a sense of how nice it looks, how clean it looks, how less eclectic it looks. It's going to make me feel good. And if that garbage was sitting there still in the morning, right, oh, back at it, Cindy. Don't even grab yourself a cup of coffee. I've got tea tonight and I've got my juice. I woke up last night with some what do you call those, pins and needles in my, and walk around my apartment for 10 minutes at 4 o'clock in the morning. But yesterday we were hauling a little bit. We were getting a whole bunch of stuff up to my niece's place, getting ready for the big yard sale. It's going to be, right, really fun to be working at a garage sale. And really fun making money and utilizing all those skills that I built up over the 5 years, and let's just see, I did pretty good in bringing in the moolah for the big bosses. Let's see if I can do the same and bring in that same kind of money for myself, right? I thought maybe spend a couple $100 on camping, but you guys, I'm doing 5 provincial parks in September. Two of them are only for one night. They're just stopovers on my drive to my destination. I could stay a little bit closer to home and pick parks and have a very enjoyable time. But there are two parks that I really have been curious. And, I said on my next trip, I'd like to try and get them on. Well, there were a few. One was just still too far away. I would like to see Killarney Provincial Park. But there were two other parks that I really wanted to visit. And so I made that. And one of them is pretty close to where I want to go for digging amethyst, because of course we got to go digging for crystals. Cindy's a bit of a rock hound. So yeah, and I managed. I got 5 parks in. I'll be enjoying 8 days, 8 days, coming home on the ninth day, and then the 10th day turn the car back into my sister because she'll be having to go back to work. That's a perfect holiday for me. I am grateful that it seems like I'm going to be able to manage that, right? So if we do really good at the garage sale, because I do need a new desktop, and I sure would like to pay for the camping spots ASAP before somebody picks the ones that I picked for myself. Got, I think, a couple of walk-in campsites and a couple of lakeside. I try to get them all lakeside or just tucked into the bush a little bit close to the lake. But I'm because I'm spending a couple of days in each of those main parks that I'm taking, 3 of the main parks. I'll be spending 2 days in two of them, and I think 3 days in one of them. No, I think 2 days in 3 of them, and then one day in two of them. That's what it is. Um, I'd like to hit the trails, waterfalls. Yeah, I'd just like to get in the bush. I am craving, and it is in fall, perfect time as the trees are changing color. And yeah, I didn't skip a beat in that one. Yeah, so it looks like my summer is going to be pretty good. But again, there's always things going on in our lives. There are always little hiccups, catastrophes, health issues, and we have to be attentive to that, right? We never deny our own. In the end, that's all we've got. That was all I had in my life, and whether we were at each other's backs, or we were best friends, or even if it was just mutual agreement to, right, not turn it into a big deal in whatever we were doing, bringing lots of forgiveness into it, right, and lots of tolerance, understanding, right? Me and my sisters, we all came from the same dynamic family, but we were all brought up a little bit different, right? And yeah, so we're all gonna have different personalities in that, and yet, right? We all loving each other, and we're all here. We're all in the same city. And how often does that happen with families these days? Usually, lots of the times the kids pick up and they move off, and whether they move off to the big city, and that happens lots, right? Especially here in Manitoba, we have a lot of those senior towns, right? Those towns that it's just the seniors that are left over, and once they're gone, these will be the future ghost towns of Manitoba, right? And that's the case for lots of places in the world, right? In this digital age, we have that opportunity to not feel so far away, right? We might not have that physical connection quite often, especially when your children and your grandchildren are on another side of the country or maybe on the another side of the world. But right now, in this age of AI, that we have that opportunity to keep those important relationships, right, alive. Never deny your own. In the end, that's all you've got, and I didn't I I didn't grow up on that one, but it was something that my dad held on to dearly. And then I remembered when he passed away, he had a little plaque. And where is it? Oh, where are you? Oh, there you are. Life is what happens to you while you're making other plans. My dad, he had drilled a screw in there and he just drilled it into the wall right beside his lazy boy chair. He lived by this. And when we talk about change, I don't mean to sway off, but when we talk about change, this is what we're talking about, being able to ride those waves, to adapt and conquer, to kind of figure out the road when those hiccups, those disasters, those heartbreaks and those griefs come into our life, right? And that is our life. That is that our life. And this is my life. And I'm so amazed that, I think I'm enjoying the process. You always hear that you got to enjoy the process, enjoy the journey and stuff, right? I understand those difficult, scary moments full of anxiety, desperation, right? Wanting to give up, being the person I am. I've gotten past that, right? I'll fight to my last breath. Right? I will never give up, right? I have to be that example. That doesn't mean I have to succeed in anything. It does not mean that I have to meet every single goal, right? Because it is in the baby steps. And, for myself, I understand that, right, that possibly some parts of me will benefit from me making a little bit of resolution for the life I've lived, and maybe put to rest the life that I might have had, and be optimistic for the life that I will have, right? And I think that's kind of this idea of this quote that my dad lived by, right? Life is what happens to you while you're making other plans. Just keep going, make the choices, roll with the punches, and things will work out. This year on my goal list, oh, was it this year? No, this year. This year on my, no, yes, last year it was on my list. I had to put it back on this year's list. So last year, my fiscal year ends in September. So October 1st, I always start a new list, and these are goals, these are needs for myself, places where I want to see that I've expanded to. Maybe it's the September trip that I do in camping. That's always on the list. And I always have a few things on that list because being ADHD, right? That, I kind of get distracted quite a bit. So I have this rule that in that distraction, I get distracted in one of those things on my list. So I just kind of bounce around in the things that I have to get done, those things that I want to get done, and eventually they get they get done. But one of these goals that I had last year was, because I chipped my tooth on some sunflower seeds. Was it sunflower seeds? I think it was sunflower seeds. I got into sunflower seeds for quite a while there, and I'd roast them up, and they were delicious. And oh my goodness, yeah, I think I have, what do you call that? Legumes, right? Because sunflower seeds are like a legume, right? Because the legumes are like beans and stuff. And I was eating them, right? Because they're supposed to be really good for inflammation. And I really enjoyed them, and they were good, healthy snack foods for me. But yeah, I chipped my tooth. So the goal was last year to have my dental done. I go in and save money, and I was going to put that money towards getting my dental done. I didn't do it. I got my laptop instead. And you know what? I'm so grateful I got my laptop because my desktop was conking out. So it just worked out perfectly. And at the same time, I was able to have it built for myself with the specs that I needed so that I could edit. Now, last year was the first year I edited like I it wasn't hard. My computer wasn't making grinding noises and shaking, and I kept having to reboot it and keep having to, losing my footage just because my computer couldn't handle the editing. Well, I resolved that, but it cost me the dental that I had to get done. Hello, Eugene. I'm doing good. I hope you're doing good tonight too, Eugene. Appreciate that you popped in. Okay. Did I lose my track? No, I didn't. So last year I failed in that. I got lots of things done, right? The laptop was on the list, but it was on the bottom of the list if I could manage the other things. Well, come October, right? In making those goal lists, I understand whatever I didn't accomplish, and there were two things that I didn't accomplish. I know one was the dental, and the other one, I can't remember what it was, but to buy a car, right? And I failed in that, but I thought I would fail, and that's okay, right? It's in the pursuit of it. And I was I was saving money, and I was still moving towards it in a baby step. I just didn't accomplish it. So October rolls around, I have to make a new goal list. And I did the dental on the list again. Had to be a priority. So the first thing I was going to do with my first round of savings, little saving nesting pile that I put together. It was never brought up in financing, so you guys might feel this is a little silly, right? So whatever I'm learning in finances, it's all self taught, and it's not very in depth in any way, right? But I did manage to make when I commit to myself, I have to follow through, right? So the dental got back on the list. I had to follow through. I committed myself to that. Well, I heard about a new dental program coming up, and I thought, oh my goodness, if I can wait a year, I could get half of my dental paid for by the government. They'll cover half my wages. Why am I not waiting for a year? It's only a year. That chip is hardly noticeable, even though it's right in the front. It's barely noticeable. So I made that executive decision just to continue to put money towards the car because the car got on the list. And this year I was even more determined because I dished out over $2,000. I think I dished out $2,400 for my car rental last year. If I had another couple of thousand, I could have gotten myself a decent beater, something safetied. So this year I was even more determined to get that done. But now we're in the middle of closer to the end of my fiscal year. And a few of those things that I have on my goal list, I've got those accomplished. But I put aside the dental because of this program that in a year I'm able to get into. Oh, today I went to the mailbox. Right? I have this saying too, just like my dad. Well, he doesn't have this saying. Well, I think he probably did say this thing. I probably learned it off of him. Right? Went to my mailbox and I just look forward to saying no news is good news. But I pulled out a letter from the government today, you guys, out of my mailbox. My heart went, oh no. Who wants money, right? And they jumped the program up. I don't have to wait the year. I can apply for it now. Isn't that amazing? So I've got work to do tomorrow. I'll get this all sorted out and I'll get that application in. Yeah, pretty cool how things work out. But it's in that moving towards it. It was still on my goal list, but it was kind of on the back burner. And I was making the car priority because I knew that, I would be able to get this done and have it only cost me half of what I was going to have to dish out. So I was pretty pleased because it wasn't bad. It wasn't bad news today, right? And that's the thing. I don't feel that I'm overexerting myself. You know, I have a little bit, we all deal with this guilt and shame of these things because we are brought up to grind and work and put a roof over our heads. And I recently left the job that I had, the job that was putting the roof over my head, and there was that sense of feeling bad. But I noticed that, the funds were kind of drizzling in. I don't need much to survive. I would much rather have my freedom than to be grinding to put a roof over somebody else's head, right? I don't mind work. I love working, right? In this moment, I am working for myself and I am content with that. And it's lessons in that for me because I'm paying attention to how I feel in that, how I feel, how I contribute to society, if I'll be able to keep managing to do this so that, right, we don't have to go to work in September when my trip is ready to be taken off. And so far, so good, right? Stepping into that little bit of entrepreneurship in reselling. I learned a lot in those 5 years that I was in that little thrift store, right? And I thrived. I learned lots. And let's see. Let's see if we can put a roof over our heads. Me and my sister got a little bit of a competition going. Neither of us has sold our item yet, but I do have watchers on the item that I'm selling, which is a pair of work boots. My sister has a set of rackets, racquetball rackets, and a racquetball case. And yeah, so we're seeing who sells first. So it's fun. Isn't it fun? And again, it's that idea. Life is what happens to you while you're making other plans. And I am in my plans. I am moving in my goals. But my day to day is a lot of unknown, also moment to moment. Anything can happen. All I would do is take a text or a phone call, right? Or something is happening with one of my sisters. Anything. And it doesn't necessarily have to be a bad thing. It could be a great thing. Like the letter I got today saying that I can apply to get my dental. So yeah, I'm going to be all over that tomorrow. I just I would have been on all over it today, but I just grabbed it. I was taking the garbage out. I checked my mail at the same time, right? So I just opened up the letter. It can wait till tomorrow, right? It could be one of my first tasks to get that application. And I might apply for a rec pass too, so that I can use the swimming pools. Use the swimming pools. I've got to lose some weight. Oh my goodness, I took these cleaning wipes and I went to town. Oh, my bathroom has never been so clean since the day I moved into my apartment. But I took these wipes and I spent like 15 minutes scrubbing down my scale. Then I got on it. You guys, I've gained 10 pounds. 10 pounds since I left that job. And it's not even March, April, May. It's been 4 months, just under 4 months since I left that job, and I've gained 10 pounds. This is summertime. This is when I should be able to easily just manage to maintain my weight just because I'm active with walks and stuff. But no, I'm more active in that expansion. Again, it is that curious mind, and it is in those goals and those ambitions that I set for myself and those dreams, because I understand that life is what happens to us while we're making other plans. I would like to set myself up for retirement in a life that, would be a little bit more determinable. Is that the word? More cons- I don't want consistency. I don't want consistency, but more recognizable from day to day, right? Meaning less surprises, less hiccups, less failures, right? They'll always be popping in, you guys, right? Why? Because that's life. And life is what happens while you're making other plans. It's such an awesome saying. And I'm so pleased with myself because I wasn't woke up to any of these ideas, but there were a couple of my father's mementos that I wanted to take with me when he passed away. And I knew how important this plaque was to him because it was nailed right to the wall beside his lazy boy chair, right beside him, right? And so I knew it meant lots to him, not the plaque itself, but the saying on the plaque. And that was one thing. My dad enjoyed life, right? And he lived his life to the fullest every day. And and I was lucky enough that he took me along for that ride. Yeah, my dad was a nomad. Okay, you guys. That's it for tonight. Eugene, thank you so much for popping in. I really appreciate that you pop into my lives. For those of you who pop in later and put your feed up, I hope your day went well. Hope maybe you got something out of this. If you didn't, thank you for hanging out with me. Anyway, maybe something better and more specific to you will come to the surface. And there's one more thing then before I take off. One of the people that I follow, she's an actual psychotherapist. She left the profession because she had her own ideas, and it kind of didn't rub well with her in the ideas that she was expected to represent. And she's a mother, and a lot of her content is for mothers, right? Mothers who are trying to make some movement for them and are having experiences that they find confusing or they struggle in, or right, it could be scary too, a little bit nerve-wracking. And she really helps these women to move forward with their lives and actually have good advice in their own child rearing. I never had kids, right? I love this woman. She is so smart, and I get her lessons are always very pertinent to me. But when then she does the mother things, I think, well, you know, why is my curiosity drawn to this woman's content and what she has to say, right? Why am I sitting here for an hour in content that isn't pertinent to me? Because again, I'm not a mother, right? So, but then I thought about it. I had a mother. Had a mother. And so I looked at it, the lesson that she was trying to get across, in a different perspective. I was just kind of taking it in and looking at that relationship that I had with my mother and how she brought me up. My mother was a tough bird. My mother was not affectionate in any way. She had her own set of rules, and we all followed suit in that. She didn't have to do anything. She raised her voice. We all fell into line in that. So I built resilience like crazy. Me and all my sisters, right? Resilience is not a problem for us. It keeps us going. We never give up. We adapt and conquer. But for me, in that parentship and looking at why it might be pertinent to me, is because of the intent, right? Because I felt that intent. And I don't believe that ignorance is an excuse, that we all know right from wrong. And tough love is tough love, but abuse is abuse. And we shouldn't make the mistake that we need to be physical with our children or be demeaning in any way. And not like she was like condoling this, but right, she was talking about that tough love. And when I say jump, you jump. And I get that, right? Because as children, we need to have that guidance, that mentorship, right? And those lessons in our lives. But if we don't have those lessons, right? If we don't have those lessons, let's just say if our parents don't have those lessons and they're still exerting that power, it doesn't make any difference, because we still have to follow suit in that. And that's where the damage could come in, right? Because of that literal abuse that's set in. And because you can't go, why? I said that so many, but why? And all you get back is, because I told you so. And where's this lesson in that? Because you never get any answer to the why of it. You just have to fall into line and fall into to suit. So there is a difference. I know specifically I would not be sitting here right now without that buildup of resilience, without some of those tough love relationships that I had, right? But we have to stay soft. And the only reason that I was able to stay soft was because of the love for my sisters and my father, who, right, I was my father's daughter. And even though I wasn't woke to it at the time, I'm woke to it. I'm woke to it now. And I recognize some of those tough love lessons that held him back, but at the same time held me back too, and would hold hold each one of my nieces and nephews and their children going down the road, right? Because epigenetically, we just keep passing these lessons down, and whether they're good lessons or bad lessons, we just keep passing them down. So, a little bit of what I want to do is a little bit of that course correction, but at the same time, recognizing it takes all kinds to make the world, right? And because there are all kinds of levels of that tolerance and all kinds of levels of that resilience, that we have to feel it out for ourselves. And being highly sensitive, we do that, right? And when we feel that intent, I'm not taking any lessons from that. No, siree. I'll find something that's a little bit safer, a little bit more contained, a little bit more comfortable. And boy, am I glad that within my own family, I had that source. Okay, you guys, that's my good cheer, and we'll see you tomorrow.